everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 9 of Bloom Into You. Last episode, there were umbrellas, it was raining, Sayaka and you kind of had to interact with one another, they made up, everything's going fine, and I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because, yeah, it's just, I really, what I love the most about this series is how complex it looks at relationships, especially between two protagonists who are getting to know each other and who we as the audience assume are going to end up in a romantic relationship. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. We don't know that entirely for certain, but what we do know is that these two characters care a lot about one another. And so what I like about this series is the realistic look at that and saying, hey, these two characters really like one another, but it's not that simple, because it's never that simple. In real life, there's lots of layers and complexities and everything. And I appreciate that this series is able to walk that fine line between giving us that romantic kind of flirty, like the feel good feeling, while keeping it complex and real. I think that that's super cool. So yeah, I'm excited. After this week, we're going to be like in the last arc of the series, which is crazy. Now, here's the thing, and I'm recording weeks ahead, thankfully, because somebody way back at the beginning of the series, they left a comment and they were like, well, and I made the mistake because the series wasn't moderated, and I told the moderators, I was like, neither of them really had seen this series enough to moderate it, and I was like, it's only 13 episodes, it's kind of a romance, so I don't know if there's going to be really any big spoilers. Like, I did not have a moderator for Skip and Loafer, and I didn't need one because people didn't spoil. It was everybody was really kosher and chill about it. But then somebody in the comments, like towards the beginning of the series, they left a comment and I wasn't even thinking, and they were like, well, the anime doesn't end as good as the manga. And I was like, no! And I stopped reading, but I was like, please don't tell me about the manga. I don't want to know. I told the moderators what I will probably do is I don't have time to react to the manga in my schedule, and if it's going to be mostly like this, I don't really know if I want to react to the manga, but I would like to read the manga and give you all like a review of it, kind of like what I did with number 6. Number 6 ends differently in the manga versus the anime, so I did a review of the manga for number 6, and that's probably what I'll do for this. So I'll come back and do that when the series is over. I obviously don't have a time frame for that, so it'll be either here on the channel at some point, probably sooner rather than later, because I like to tie that bow around it and then move on to the next show. So it'll probably be around end of November, December when I get to that. We'll see. But anyway, we'll talk about the manga at that point. But until then, please don't tell me any things. Some people have given like little things with the manga, like, oh, this character has more stuff happen to them in the series. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Just don't give me any specifics about the manga, please. And I will hopefully get to it when I'm done with the anime. But I was like, I looked at the first 5 words and was like, nope, that's not a comment for me. And I was really frustrated, so I left them a reply being like, please don't spoil. Believe it or not, content creators don't want you to tell them that. We want to find out on our own, and then at the very end of the series you can say, oh, hey, by the way, about the manga. But at the very start, I'm like, dude. Anyway. Speaking of, I am super grateful for people's comments, regardless, as long as you're not spoiling, which 99.9% of you have not been spoiling, so thank you. I'm super appreciative of everybody on YouTube, everybody on Patreon, especially the philanthropy tier who helps support me and will probably support me in getting the manga when I eventually read it. So with that being said, I want to give a shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Be Happy, to Bryant Reed, to Dana, to Danny Donmai, to Devorin, to Destiny Marie, to Damage3245, as well as Danger Zone, Ichu, Eric, Ghostly Turnip, Fisho, Ivan, El Freya, Lyndon, Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, Nameless Monster, Nicholas, No Nickname, Trails, Translucent Men, Shimoyama, and Sunspots. Thank you all so much for all of your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. Anyway, so we're not going to dilly-dally too long. We're just going to get right ahead and get started. We're 5 minutes in, but I hope you all enjoy. But in any case, I keep forgetting that this series requires some headphones. So give me just a second, and we are going to start Bloom Into You, episode 9. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh. Oh. You've left awfully hurry, Maki, to do that. Oh, okay. So they're just organizing stuff for the culture festival, the sports festival. Oh, girl. I mean, what happens in a PE storage shed? Nothing crazy, right? Oh no, don't get distracted. Okay. Oh no. Oh. Yes, there's so much work. Oh, girl, I was getting anxious just going through that. Man, I'm getting like stars align flashbacks from this scene already. Right. Oh, will she find anything from the past in there? Because it's an old storage shed? Oh. Oh. Oh, we just happened to run into the storage shed together. Oh, she's joking! She's not joking! Oh! 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 I was joking! I was like, oh, fancy meeting you here. We'll just sneak in this storage shed to make out. I didn't think we were actually doing that. Oh, okay. Okay. Holy shit. Wow. Okay. Ah! All right. I mean, I'm not opposed as long as you's okay with it and is comfortable with it. But man, we'll talk about it in the discussion. But that entire prep scene to start this was giving me anxiety. I was like, no, I know this feeling too well. Stop it. Hiding in that locked glass box. Wow. Yes. I love that the lyrics are on here. Yes. I was given this file because my internet was out, so I'm gonna have to go back to these lyrics again. I know we probably had the lyrics for the last episode, but I want to go back to it. And your false bravado. I want to go back to these lyrics. Yes. Special shout out to Edgar for giving me the file to react to since my internet's out. We're gonna go back to these lyrics because I have forgotten about them. Oh, not beating the allegations, Hwa-Chong. Really? She didn't say no. Okay. Oh, Ah! No. Girl. Oh. Oh. Too spoiled. Oh. Oh, would you now? Oh. Girl, you don't want her to fall in love with you. You don't want her to fall in love with her, but you want her to take initiative? Girl, cake and eat it too. Track and field day, my favorite. I would be terrible at this. I love sports, but I'm terrible at them. It's so sad. I want to do the best, and it just doesn't work out. I have done well with the tug of war, but that involves lots of people. Hurdles, I'd be okay, but I'd probably hit about 3. Oh, you did train in junior high. That's right. Aw. Second. See, that's good. You got silver, girl. Yay. What is a Swedish relay? Oh, Akari. Oh, Hyuga. Is she related to the Hyuga from Kuroko's basketball? Dude, you're barking up the wrong tree. Oh. Oh. Oh, first name basis, huh? Maybe he's after her. Of course you would. Ah! Girl. Ooh, because you didn't give her a very good answer. Well, she did do that. She didn't open up very much. So I was hoping for some deep shit. Come on now. Sounds rough, buddy. Kiyomi has a good intuition, though. Oh, there you go. There you go. Get some inspiration. Workshop it. Aw. I was planning out a love story with him and either of them. I like Maki being there for you as like this person she can confide in. Well, well, you don't even know about the sports shed, son. Yeah. Oh. But you won't, or you don't want to, or you can't. He's like, why are you staring at the sun, girl? Oh, that's how he takes it. Good. Nice. Nice. Ah, so he is a little bit different. So they are a little different. I love this scene. Oh. There we go. Ah. I wonder what Maki thinks of that, though. He's not exactly like you, but they do have a lot of similarities. Mm. Ah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Ready, set. Oh, man. Okay. Okay. I can't hear the starting pistol. Ooh. What is this, free? That was for the relay, but... Oh. Fancy seeing you here. She's from the tea shop, right? I love in Japan that you use the umbrella to not get sunburned. I wish that the US kind of normalized that more. Oh, yeah, there we go. So she came to see her. That's sweet. She looks so put together. Oh, I can relate. I was going to say, Rico would probably freak out. Well, it's hot, so I don't know if the tea shop would be busy. Hmm. Ooh, yep. Ah, like a pain to fall in love with. Well, girl, you're a great read of that. I like that she's like, yeah, she's not the type I would have stayed in love with. Uh, uh. I love her hair is just like all over the ponytail, like it's all just falling around the headband. Huh. Oh. Serizawa. Oh. Oh. Are they got the lightning bolt shoot between them? Hmm. Were they in a relationship previously? Huh. I mean, no, Nanami's never been in a relationship, so I guess not, but... Eh. Aww. Uh, fine. That's so cute. Man, the one girl Serizawa is really tall. All right. Aww. She's like, you don't need my cheering on. You're fine. That's so funny. Okay. She's like, get over here. That is true. They're going to be around that corner before you know it. Aww. Oh, look at Maki go! Cute. Okay, and she's going to pass it to Sayaka. Oh, yeah! Oh, cute. I love this. This feels a lot like Stars Align. I like it. And I like the prior knowledge that Yu is actually pretty good at sports if she tries. Nice! Yay! Oh, my guy fell over! Oh, nice. Okay. Nice. Aww. Okay. Oh. Mm-hmm. Is that the moment? Is this the moment? Is this the moment you fell in love with her? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Ah. Oh, were they third? Dang, the basketball club. Aw. Oh. Oh, wait. I was thinking number 7 was Sarazawa. Never mind. So close. Third isn't that bad. Aw. Aw. Huh. Oh. All right, you. Well, you know, just reevaluating my entire sexuality, that's all. No, nothing! Ooh. Oh. Oh, I thought it was like her lifting something. Nice, there she is. Meat, please! Ah! That's so funny. Oh, already? Oh, girl. Yeah, I didn't think that either. Oh, shoot. Oh, is that right? You don't want her to fall in love with you, but you want her to initiate this? Yeah, you said. Hmm. 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 Oh, we're gonna talk about this. Oh. Oh, you just went straight to French girl. Oh. Well, I'm not gonna turn it down, but I didn't dislike it. I just, you gotta warn me about those things. Oh. There, and she bridged the gap. Okay. Ooh. Hmm. Just natural, probably. Right. Right, sure. Hmm. Oh, wow. It's too fast to be mine. Girl. Girl. Oh. Oh my gosh. That was such a good episode. That was such a good episode. Ah. I also really love, I know I've said this before, but I love the trope of Nanami speaking to the cup and Yu's listening, but it's like you expect they're not, it's, I know that's how the communication works with the telephone line, but it's still funny that they're not doing on the same thing. Is that supposed to be Sarazawa that's there with the overalls, maybe? Perhaps? Still don't know exactly who the one guy is with the purple, with the blue shirt. And Maki watching, of course. Oh, and of course, yeah, Nanami says the little thing with the smirk. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So cute. Nice. Okay. All right. We should talk about this. Ho 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 ho. So the plot thickens, eh? Oh, this was such a good episode. I really liked this. I like a good sports festival in an anime. You know, I was harkening back a lot in this episode to Free, to Stars Align, especially Stars Align. The whole PE shed scene gave me Stars Align flashbacks for whatever reason. I just really liked this episode. And man, this opening here where they're getting ready and they have like all the documents spread out and they're going through everything that they need and like who's doing what and where's stuff missing at. I was getting anxiety on their behalf and I wasn't doing anything with it. I was like, but I know what that feels like, especially whenever Sayaka, she like starts going through everything and saying like, well, do we have this ready? And what about this? She's like, well, is anybody free during that time? And then she's like, well, what about you? And Yu's looking around and they're like, well, did you find the banner from last year? And she's like, oh, I forgot about that. And when she said I totally forgot about that, I was like, girl, I know what that feels like. Like when you have all these events planned for, if I don't write stuff down or have it, I can't do like people do notes in their phones. I can't do that. It has to be like written on a like on a planner or on a post-it note. I got to remember it that way. I got to see it in front of me and I got to write it myself. Typing it on my hands does nothing. So whenever she was like, I forgot, I like instantly felt anxiety for her. I was like, girl, we'll go find it together. So yeah. And she's like, I'll go look. And then when she goes back out and I know that feeling too, like when you're on a mission to do something and then a student stops you and they're like, hey, can you do this? And you're like, yeah, send me an email and I'll go do it. And they're like, hey, can we do this? And I'm like, yeah, do that. And then send an email. It's like trying to like, people are like, oh, delegating's not hard. No, delegating isn't necessarily hard, but keeping track of like all the moving pieces and being there totally to help out whenever it's needed is hard. And Huckleberry's like, give me this toy. But yeah, I felt for you a lot in this opening here. And then she gets to the shed. And I honestly thought in the shed, I thought she was going to find something of Nanami's sister. I thought that she was going to look down in this and like there would be like something with her name on it or something like that. Or in the little box that looked like there were papers, I thought maybe there'd be something of hers. That's what I thought it was leading to. And then her and Nanami get stuck in the shed. And she's like, and I was like, oh, I was joking about it because it's in so many fanfics. It's like one of the fanfic tropes. Like, I can't tell you how many Haikyuu fanfiction I've read with them getting stuck in the shed. But I just, you think it's just a trope and you're like, oh, they're not going to actually do that. And then they do. Although this would have been the T-rated fic for that. It would not have been the M's or E's from AO3, let me tell you. So I want to go back to this OP because thanks to Edgar, I have the opening lyrics now for this. And I wanted to go back to that and see if it told us anything with that. Do they? I want to get on here and see if they give us any of that. They talked in here about a glass box, and now, of course, they won't show the subtitles. How dare they? How dare they? Yeah, I want to see the full subtitles in English. But what was it talking about? I want to go back to this. I can't believe they showed us the subtitles, and now it's not going to want to do it. Signs and songs. There we go. Maybe it'll show us this now. But, or maybe it's just when I have the sound on that it works. Anyway, I'm going to pay more attention to that in the future. Oh, there we go. Well, now it'll do it. What? But talked about like, I'll embrace it all for you. The lyrics seemed like they definitely were talking about, I'm going to look this up because now it's going to drive me crazy. I was already going to look at it anyway, so we might as well look. Bloom into You OP lyrics. I want to see them now. And see what we get. All right. Let's check this out here. All right. The opening lyrics. Here we go. So in English, say, morning rays shine through swaying branches. On this road lined with trees, I can hear your familiar voice saying good morning. Inside that locked glass box, I wonder what's been hidden. I love the idea of Nanami, because it's when Sayaka's reaching for her. I love the idea of Nanami as being this locked glass box. Like you can see Nanami and you think that you know her, but she's closed herself off to you and anyone else. And Yu's talked about that, which is really neat. So it says, a tale that has begun. I wanted to know more about your world. I brushed against those fingers by chance, but now I'm holding on to them. Your strengths and weaknesses, I'll embrace all of them tightly. Well, it seems like it's from Yu's perspective that she's gotten to know Nanami and accept her. So it says, I can't forget the day that I first met you was outside in the sun. That time we had gradually accumulated. It's engraved in my heart. The future I'd once looked so far off feels so close by. Oh, them getting to know each other, falling in love. Those irreplaceable feelings grow little by little. I had simply wanted to find what's special together with you. Hold on to this hand to the point it's enough to erase your insecurities forever. Oh, I love that. She's like, you trying to tell Nanami, like, well, you can be with me and it'll be fine. We'll weather through this storm together, you and I. Because I want to tell you, because I'll be by your side. A tale that has begun. I wanted to know more about your world. I brushed against those fingers by chance, but now I'm holding on to them. Your strengths and weaknesses, I'll embrace all of them tightly. I freaking love that. That's so good. So good. Yes. So, anyway, speaking of which, Nanami, my thing with Nanami is with her at this point, she wants you to not fall in love with her. And I'm like, well, that's great. I'm glad you feel that way. But my thing about it is she doesn't want you to fall in love with her, but then at the same time she's like, well, I want you to initiate it. I'm like, that's a hard thing to ask someone. And honestly, if you was exactly like Maki, then she'd be like, I can't do that. Like, no. I feel like Yu is reaching a turning point this episode where she is falling in love with Nanami, but Yu is kind of at this point where she's like, shit, if I tell Nanami that I'm falling in love with her, Nanami's going to leave me because she's going to believe that I'm this person that's not what she wants anymore. And so she's like, I can't really do that. But then she's like, also, if I say I'm falling in love with her, like, am I being true to myself or am I not being true to myself? So Yu's kind of in this weird evolution with her love where she's trying to figure out, like, is this really who I am, or am I responding to all these other things? Like, what's really what I want? And this episode is so good because it's just really complex in that. But honestly, seriously, for Nanami to be like, oh, well, let me, we can just make out here and it's fine. And she's like, but I want you to initiate it. And I do like that Yu has her boundaries. And she's like, okay. She's like, you understand that I'm not supposedly into this, but my mouth is dry. Hold on. But you're wanting to keep doing this. And she's like, and I'll tolerate it, but we got stuff to do, right? And she's like, we have a lot to do, so we need to hurry and get back to work. And damn, Nanami is not beating the allegations, again, of being an MXTX protagonist, because she's just like, well, but we could just, what if we did this? I thought she was like going to kiss her fingers, and Yu's just like giving the Justin Timberlake stare into the camera. And she's like, when field day is over, I'd like a reward. I was with you in thinking that when field day is over was like the next night. Not 10 minutes afterwards. I was like, oh shit, girl, don't beat around the bush. She meant when field day is over. Like the moment. And her saying she'd want a reward, I'm like, girl. And Yu's like, what are you talking about? What am I doing? And she's like, I want you to take the initiative and kiss me. And she's like, well, how is that different? And then she's like, well, we're just going to endure it. And then I guess, but I'm like, Nanami, if you don't want this girl to fall in love with you, why are you asking her to initiate it? Because that almost seems, it doesn't seem cruel necessarily, but it seems like, what are you wanting to get out of it from her? It's very much like Nanami wants to create this ideal scenario. Nanami wants her cake and to have it and eat it too. She wants to create this ideal situation where she feels like she's receiving love from someone, but she doesn't want to have to worry about all of the baggage that comes with that and the responsibility she'd have to take with that. Because at the end of the day, Nanami believes that Yu doesn't love her back, so it's just like a role play at that point, right? Meanwhile, Yu is like, am I gonna tell her that I'm falling in love with her and reveal that I'm changing? Because that's not what she wants. And then for her to be kind of disappointed when Yu doesn't want to initiate it, I'm like, well, girl, what do you want? Like I think both of these women at the end of the day want to fall in love with each other, and they want each other to know that they're falling in love with each other. But at the same time, they're both so scared that it's gonna fall apart if that happens that they don't want to admit it. And it's just like, gently shake. Gently shake. But I do love a good sports festival. Like I said, I love sports. I love athletics. I like watching athletics. I like supporting athletics. I like playing athletics. My only problem is I don't have good hand-eye coordination. And unfortunately for athletics, you need that. So I have done the tug of war. I have long legs, so I could do the hurdles when I was in grade school. I haven't done them since grade school, so probably wouldn't be very successful. And I do like running. So, but running just involves you not falling and being fast. So hand-eye coordination, not so much. But the baton thing would be hard. I think it would be harder than it looks. I do love they give us a little behind the scenes of how each of them did. And I like that you got second. I like that whenever they get done with their individual parts, they put their little student council badges on to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And then Akari shows up, and I like Akari is helping. So, and then, so here's the thing that's so funny. The one guy with glasses, he knows Akari by her last name, her surname, which is Hyuga, which I'm like, do you know the Kuroko's basketball Hyuga? But he's on a first name basis with Kiyomi. And I was like, what? So, which was interesting to me. They says, because he says Kanao. Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, you must know each other from working on the play. Maybe he's not on a first name basis with her. Maybe Kiyomi's her first name and he knows her by her surname too. I was thinking up all of these romance scenes with him and the two of them. At one point, when he first started walking off with Akari, I was thinking, oh, well, since Basketball Boy's not making a move because of basketball, maybe he'll try to, like, you know, make a move on Akari. I don't think he's her type, but who knows? And then when he saw Kiyomi, I was like, oh, or maybe he'll try to get with Kiyomi. And you know what? He just wants to have a relationship with a lady, but I appreciate him because he doesn't force himself on any of these girls. He's just trying to be really nice. It's nice. I like it. I appreciate it. And I like that he helps Kiyomi figure out something to do with Nanami's character. And I like the angle that she's like, well, what if we don't know anything about her? And that's the angle of her character. And I'm like, oh, that could lead to some interesting developments in the play. So I'm like, go with it, Kiyomi. Make that script. We're here for it. But I thought that whole scene was really cute. Mm-hmm. So then all of these drinks that are on there, it's like mainly waters. And then I love that they sell coffee there at the high school. That's funny. So this scene, I talked about this in the comments and on Discord, but I love that Maki is there as a support and ally to you. I like that he's like a confidant. I like he's someone that she can go to and talk about her situation. And like we see in this episode, she's someone he can kind of rely on to give her some honest feedback. But at first, when she's like trying to convince herself that she's not falling in love, she's like, well, I'm not in love with Nanami. And he's like, well, if you weren't, you wouldn't be doing something like what I saw you two do in the council room. And she's like, no, she's like, I'm telling the truth. And then she kind of like stares at the bottle. She's like, I'm not in love with her. And she's like, I mean, I won't fall in love with anyone, which is a statement of denial. If it's ever been, the way she says that makes it seem like she is telling herself, I can't fall in love with anyone. It's not like she won't. It's that she's saying I can't. And I feel like she's been telling herself that for a long time, almost to the point where she's trying to make it true. And I don't know if that's to protect herself or make things easier so that she doesn't get hurt, is what it kind of seems like in the moment. And then when she holds the bottle of water up against the sunlight, like everything kind of glowing, like being underwater, and she holds that bottle up there to look through the sun. I'm like, girl, the sun is still shining through the bottle. It's like, it's transparent. It's still gonna hurt your eyes. And Maki's like, really? You sure about that? And so then Maki says, well, then that means that you're just like me. And I feel a little bad for Maki because at first he kind of seems really comforted, like, oh, there's somebody else like me, because, you know, people who are Arrow and people who are Ace and people who are Arrow Ace, especially like Maki, are not just everywhere commonplace. So, you know, I'm sure that Maki doesn't feel loneliness necessarily in terms of like romantic loneliness, but I'm sure he feels a little bit isolated being like, well, I'm the only one that I know that's like this. So I feel a little bad because at first it seems like he finds this kindred spirit with you, but then the more you talks about how she feels, the more he's kind of like, well, actually, you're not exactly like me. You're not exactly like me. So you're not Arrow Ace like I am. Because she's like, oh, so you're the same. He's like, when I watch others in love, I think it's nice and I believe I understand it, but it feels like they're in a different world, like you're reading a novel or watching a movie. And here's the thing. I personally feel the same way a lot of times. It does feel like it's a different world with what they have, but I feel more like you in the sense that I can't say that I'm not Arrow. I'm not aromantic. I'm a very romantic person. it's not that I don't necessarily want what they have, but there is a barrier there, right? There's a barrier of, oh, I don't necessarily want this other stuff, but I wouldn't mind what's on the surface level, right? And then the other stuff, I'm not so sure. Which is why I'm kind of like, maybe it's demisexual. I don't know. It's definitely not, it's not just what I think anybody has on a normal basis, but I'm definitely not like Maki, where it's like aromantic, don't feel anything, right? He's like, I can't say that I have. He's like, I'm happy just watching everyone from a distance. And I like that we have that representation in this show, that someone that's such a great character like Maki is like a solid representation of, nope, that's just what I want. I don't really see the need for anything else. And then he's like, do you ever feel lonely? And she says, well, I thought I felt lonely at first. And I thought I was weird for not being able to fall in love with anyone. All I wanted was to be like everyone else. And he's like, but you don't feel that way now? And then when she says, Nanami told me I'm fine the way I am, I'm like, okay. So it's like, there is a part of it that makes you wonder that since she hadn't really fully explored her sexuality to know if she liked women, that she felt like no guy that's asking me out is making me feel any kind of way. So I just thought that this is the way things were. But then when she's like, Nanami told me I'm fine the way I am, I'm like, girl, that's because you like Nanami. Nanami's not a guy, which is different than what you've been looking for. So that's why it feels different. And it feels kind of weird because you kept expecting it to be a man and it's not, and you don't know what to do with that. And she says she likes me for not being able to return her affection. And that's the thing, is that Yu likes her, but she knows that Nanami will leave her if she shows affection back. And so it's like, I'm like, no, girl. And I feel like Maki's like, no, girl, you're in love with Nanami. You just don't know how to articulate it. And she's like, I haven't felt alone since she said that. And Maki's like, okay. Well, then we're not the same. And she's like, well, thanks. I'm glad we got to talk about it. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I don't have to worry about falling in love with anyone anymore. And he's like, yeah, I don't think you're the same as me. No, he's like, that expression isn't one that someone who's not lonely would make. He's like, you're lonely because you think you can't fully commit to Nanami. And that's so true. Yu is afraid of what other people will think. Her family have made it very clear that they're not really on board with it. Her sister seems fine with it, and so does her boyfriend, but that's not her entire family. So Yu feels very pressured, and she's not confident with it to be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want Nanami to get made fun of. And there's an added pressure because Nanami wants to be this symbol of perfection, and Yu's like, if people find out about this and judge you for it, you might not be able to achieve that. So there's all these extra pressures that Yu's putting on herself during all this. And I almost wish that Yu could meet the tea shop owner. I almost wish that she could. And then the way that Yu like touches her lips saying, I'm going to have to give her a reward. I'm like, I feel like Yu wants to, but we'll get to that scene in a little bit. I really liked the tea shop owner came to watch Riko, the teacher. I love she has the umbrella. I wish we'd normalize having umbrellas in the U.S. like out in public more for suntans and everything. I wish we'd do that more. Start a trend. But I like that Sayaka and her had her come visit. I thought that was really cute. And she came to watch the teacher run. But that's the thing. I feel like I wish you could meet the tea shop owner because she could see then how a relationship like that works and it's okay. So I wish you could confide in her like Sayaka has confided in her. But then the tea shop owner sees Nanami and she's like, oh yeah, she's pretty, but she'd be a pain to fall in love with. And I'm like, oh girl. I also love that. I feel like maybe she could tell Sayaka that if Sayaka gets the drift that her and Nanami aren't going to be a thing. Maybe. I don't know. I definitely agree that Nanami, the tea shop owner's like, she seems like somebody that's a lot of high maintenance. I'm like, yes, you are 100% correct. So I thought this was cute. I thought it was really interesting that Nanami had the rivalry with Serizawa, who is a sports anime character. I just can't think of from which one. But I thought for a second she was the really tall number 7, but that's not her. I thought it was interesting. Nanami's never had a relationship before, so I wondered if Sarazawa was a potential relationship, but maybe not. Yu doesn't seem to be jealous of her, and neither is Sayaka, interestingly enough, so is what it is. Actually, Sayaka's over in the corner like, okay, these two, oh my god, for real, they're just gonna argue with one another. I like their competitiveness. I think it's pretty funny. Also, the number 4 in basketball in Japan is usually the captain, so that seems pretty fitting. But I also like that the number 4, so the guy that are blah 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 Akari likes, he is the captain of the men's team. So that's really cute. But yeah, the little relay was awesome. I'm glad it all worked out really well. Had the little song playing throughout. They actually get in 3rd place. Not bad for this ragtag team. I thought that was really cute. But the moment that you see Nanami running around the track and it does the slow motion pan of her running and giving it her all and trying her hardest, you falling in love in that moment. I'm like, that's when the bug hit her. That's when the lightning struck. In that moment. It wasn't love at first sight, but in that moment, she fell in love with her. And she just is in denial about it. I also like how the series set up that Yu is actually pretty good at sports. She just kind of gave up after middle school and didn't pursue any of them, but she's pretty athletic. I thought that was good to note. But yeah, they all end up winning. It was great. And then in that one moment, whenever Nanami tries to like congratulate her and she's like, you did so good, Yu, and Yu feels called out because she's the only one that's hand recognized by Nanami, and she's like, oh, you too. Nanami looks at her for a second like, is something changed? And that's when she gets distracted by Sarazawa and kind of doesn't go back to it. But so then Kiyomi's like, are you okay? And she's like, oh, it's nothing. She's like, I'm just questioning my sexuality and maybe I'm in love with this woman. I don't know. But I honestly did not expect them to go right back to the shed. I'm glad we got that little cutscene with Riko meeting up with the tea shop owner. And then she looked at her cell phone and basically, what does it say there? It says, what happened? It says, I scraped my knee when practicing for field day. I saw a cute one with polka dots. I'll buy it for you. Just go with the normal one. Oh, what are you doing for dinner, Miss Last Place? Oh my God. So she did, that's how she knew she saw today in the race. That's so funny. That's so funny. She's like, meat, please. I love their relationship. That's so cute. Them just teasing each other. This just feels like such a high school thing to do, is be in the locker room in the PE shed. For a hot second, okay, I know that's a white shirt that she's wearing. For a hot second, I thought Nanami was nude. I was like, oh, when did this escalate? So I'm glad that wasn't the case. But her forcing you to be like, I endured till the end of the day, so you need to initiate it. And again, I feel like Nanami wanted that fantasy of you initiating the contact without her having to worry about her falling in love. But that's no longer the case. And for her to sit down and drag her down to sit in her lap, I'm like, girl, you've played this out in your head how you want this, right? But she ends up, is like, this is wrong. And she's like, what's wrong? And she's like, I don't know, but I know this is a line I shouldn't cross. And I hate that for you, because on the one hand, I don't entirely believe that you believes that it's not right for her to be with a woman, because I'm like, girl, you've been making out with her and doing all this before. But I think it's more than that. I don't think it's just the fact that she believes she shouldn't be in a relationship with a girl because of how she's been brought up. But I also think that she's like, if I initiate this, then I'm going to possibly go head over heels and cross that line, and I will love her and fall in love with her. And that's not what Nanami wants. So she's like, if I initiate this, I'm going to cross that line. And she's like, I can't do it. She's like, I know this isn't, if I cross it, I'm not going to be in denial anymore. And that's not what I want to do, because I want to stay with Nanami. And then Yu's like, well, I don't think it's right for me to be doing it. And Nanami doesn't get mad at her. She's just like, oh, well, oh, geez, okay. She's like, well, then I get to do what I want. And so the whole French kissing thing, when Yu's like, oh, I don't not mind it. I'm like, girl, these girls are from the MXTX School of Danmai. Protagonist shipping for sure. I'm like, damn it. Okay. And she's like, I'm sorry. And then she's like, well, it felt good. And then Nanami's like, oh, well, if you said it felt good, then that means I'll make it feel real good. That's great. And then you know, I love how blushy she is. And then she goes back in to try something. And I like that she goes in and Nanami meets her halfway. Just like, yeah. How she shows affection without expecting anything in return. And how she's nice. And how she has silky hair and long eyelashes. And smells nice. And she's soft. She's like, oh, well, this is just totally normal. Anybody would react this way. And I'm like, girl. Mm-hmm. I just love this scene between them. It's so sweet. And she's like, it's not mine. It has to be Nanami's. Her heart beating this fast. Yeah, she doesn't want to admit that she's falling in love. But I get it. I get it. If I was in Yu's position, I would be terrified. Because if I knew at this point that I was falling in love with someone, but that someone did not want me to fall in love with them, or they'd break away from me, I'd be terrified. Because it's like, well, do you keep up the charade of pretending like you're not in love? Or do you give in and admit it and risk the fact that she's probably going to leave you? And if I was Nanami and this girl loved me, I wouldn't shove her away. But I'm afraid that's what Nanami's going to do. Because she's scared too. Dang it. Anyway, this was a really good episode. I absolutely loved it. Honestly, there's so many things to talk about in terms of Yu's developing relationships, in terms of her similarities and differences to Maki, all that good stuff. I cannot wait to read your comments down below. Just save the manga stuff for later. Anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back real soon with episode 10 of Bloom Into You.